Hello everyone. In the last video we have discussed about SUPAC guidelines. In that we have discussed about introduction and what are various SUPAC guidelines. Today we will discuss about SUPAC IR guidelines and what are the various levels of changes. So SUPAC IR guidelines defines levels of changes, recommended chemistry, manufacturing and control for each level of change, in vitro and in vivo requirement for each level of change, and various required documentation for support of changes. So it will define mainly two key areas, that is changes to components and compositions, that is mainly formula and how the change in the raw materials. So components, all that will be discussed here. Next, changes to manufacturing, that is process and change in the equipment. So that will be discussed. First, we will discuss about components and composition. So the changes are, you can divide as three levels. Level 1 changes, that is quantitative only, that is color, flavor, ink change, very minor change. Level 2 changes, that is moderate, is quantitative, that is greater than 1, plus any change in the excipient grade, change in the excipient specifications, like from IP to USB, or any change of vendor, so that will be level 2 change. Level 3 change, that is quantitative, level greater than level 2, plus addition or deletion of any excipient. So that is a major change, level 3. So here you can see level 1 means unlikely to have detectable impact on the product quality, could have significant impact, likely to have significant impact on the quality of the product. That is a level 3. So level 1 changes in the color and flavor. Level 2 example is change in the technical grade of the excipient. Level 3, that is addition or deletion of excipients. Next, in detail, level 1 change, so addition or deletion of color, flavor, change in ink, excipient, already we have discussed. In case of MR guideline, preservatives, so changes are given in the level 1. So what are the changes? Expressed as percentage of total population. So here this is important, that is total additive effect should not be exceed the 5% of total target of FPP weight, that is finished product weight. Level 2 already we have discussed. Okay, here see, that is change in the grade of material from abyssal pH 102 to abyssal pH 200. One is crystalline, other is amorphous. So there is microcrystalline cellulose. And sometimes trade name changes. Material is same, but trade name changes. You have to take care. Here additive effect is 10%. Okay, of final weight. So here it is given level 1 and level 2 changes. Filler can go for plus or minus 5%, total plus or minus 10%, acidic rinse, so plus or minus 3 for starch and plus or minus 6 in level 2. Other one is given, you can see. Next, excipient, lubricant. Okay, here plus or minus 0.25% for magnesium stearate, plus or minus 0.5. You can go for changes. Then glide and talc. can here see here total additive effect, that is 5% for level 1 and 10% for level 2. So these are the level 1 and level 2 changes. Next, come to level 3 changes. Any change beyond level 2, any level 2 change for BCS class 4, that is low solubility and low permeability, drugs which have narrow therapeutic index, drugs not meeting the level 2 dissolution testing. For both level 2 and level 3 changes, the therapeutic range, the solubility and fact considered. Okay, for level 2 and level 3 we have to consider therapeutic range, solubility and permeability, that is BCS classification of drugs. Next we will see what are the documentation. So for level 1 stability testing, one batch on long-term stability data and should be reported in the annual report. Supportive dissolution is not required and in vivo bioequivalence study is not required. And for level 2, it's a moderate change. Stability testing, dissolution testing and in vivo study depend upon the result of dissolution testing once again. And for IR guidelines, dissolution testing required depends upon the BCS class of API. For MR guidelines, it is modified. Then it depends upon the type of release of finished product, whether sustained release, as a control release. You have to see. Next, for level 3, stability testing is must, dissolution testing and in vivo studies are required. So entire thing is represented in a table. So what are the level 1 changes and what are the filing methods, annual report, change being effected, prior report required if we are going for level 3 changes. So how many days? Timeline. Level 1 there is no delay, here 60 days. So FDA should review and give their compliance. Even here also it is 18 months for level 3 changes. Similarly, what are the documents required? So next we will go for change in the manufacturing, that is equipment or process change. What to do? Some changes, parameters in that. It is mixing time, operating speeds that are within the validation range. Level 2 means changes to parameter that is outside the validation ranges, that is mixing times or operating speeds. And level 3 means change of type of process, entire change, like granulation from wet granulation to dry granulation or direct compression. So that's a major change, level 3. So level 1, okay, there is one batch long-term stability study, data reported in annual report you have to give. Level 2 change you have to go for stability and dissolution, and level 3 we have to go for stability, dissolution and bioequivalence study. Then equipment can be categorized according to the class, that is operating principle, and subclass, that is design characterization. You can see the example. So unit operation, there are various unit operation in the tablet preparation, that is blending and mixing, drying, particle size reduction, separation, granulation, unit dosing, tableting, encapsulating, powder filling, coating and printing, in case of soft gelatin capsule encapsulation. All these are the various unit operation, and we are using various equipment depending upon the process requirement. So we will take the example of blending and mixing. Here the class is diffusion or tumble mixers. So subclasses, we are having V blenders, double cone blenders, slant cone blenders, shell-like blenders, tube blenders, bin blenders, horizontal, vertical drum blenders, static continuous blenders, dynamic continuous blenders. So here see the main principles remain same, but how the mixing process will change, how the mixing pattern, so that we have to see. And we have to evaluate. See, you can see various class equipment mixing. This is mainly used for final blending. V-cone blender, octagon blender, this IPC blender. Here also one more IPC blender. Here double cone blender. So level 1 change in case of equipment changes. Change from the non-automated to non-mechanical equipment to automated, or mechanical equipment more to the ingredients, means mixing ingredients. Change to alternate equipment or same design operating principles of the same, that is only different capacity, only minor change. Level 2, change to equipment, different design and different operating principle. So that is a moderate change. So here in this case level 1 change, one batch on long-term stability study you have to upload, and level 2 stability and dissolution you have to go for. Then these are the various changes, level 1, level 2, level 3 and various changes, that is component and composition changes, manufacturing site, scale up or scale down, manufacturing process, equipment, what to do, addition or deletion of color already we have discussed in detail. Then manufacturing site, same facility, different room, same campus, different building, different campus, level 3 changes. Scale up, level 1 change, 10x batch, size of pilot batch. Similarly scale up beyond 10x of pilot batch. Then your level 3 not applicable. Manufacturing process, change in the process within validation rate, outside the validation range, their entire process changes. Equipment, change in the equipment, different design, same operating principle, it's minor change. Then change in the equipment, different design operating principle in level 3 is not there. This is in summary. So what are the limitations? Has not been updated. Okay, they have published in 1995, 97, 99. Does not discuss the multiple changes. Does not directly cover the same class, different subclass of equipment. Does not cover modified equipment. Must be used in conjunction with other reference like excipient handbook or any standard reference books. So these are my references, that is from USFDA guideline mainly and pharma pathway. So thank you. So this is one of the important guidelines. You have to refer this. Thank you once again.